and welcome back. It feels like a really long time since I've done a sit down video, so this format feels very strange to me right now. But I thought I would get back into my creative juices are back, which I'm very, very happy about. So I've got a few videos planned, and I thought I would just kick off with the generic update and let you guys know what I'm currently reading, just to get back into the rhythm of things. So at the moment I am currently reading only 3 books, which for me is actually very good, because normally it can creep up to about 5 and then things feel very out of control. But I've got my generic 3 at the moment, so an audiobook, a play, which is the book that I read at work, and then my bigger book that I just read generically throughout the week, and it is a big fantasy book as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to get into it and share what I'm reading with you. So the first book, like I say, is a Shakespeare play, because I'm always reading a Shakespeare play at the moment, as I'm currently trying to get through the entire works of Shakespeare, one play at a time. Sometimes I read them quickly, sometimes it takes me a bit longer to get through them, and sometimes I like to take breaks in between reading them and maybe read something else. So I haven't actually made that much progress since last May, when I decided to start this challenge. I think I've only read how many? I've actually only read 3 Shakespeare plays since that time. Technically 4, because I think I reread Hamlet in between. But from the chronological order, I've only read the first 3. So yes, but it's fine. I'm making progress. That's all that matters. But the one I'm currently reading at the moment, I haven't actually started it, but I do plan to start it this week while I'm at work, is Henry VI Part 3. So I've read Henry VI Part 2, which comes first chronologically, and then part 1 is actually the third one chronologically, which is a bit confusing, but hey ho. I'm learning a lot about British history, because obviously these 3 plays are all about the rivalry and war between the House of Lancaster and the Houses of York, which when you look at the lineage of British king and queens throughout the years, very confusing for a very long period of time, because it goes very up and down, because they keep killing each other, because they keep believing that one house is actually the true heir, and then this other person comes along and says actually no, I'm going to kill you because I'm the true heir. So there's a lot of backwards and forwards for quite a long time, and these plays, like I say, cover that period, and it is very interesting to learn the history of that, but through a Shakespeare play. And another thing I wasn't really expecting from the histories, especially these histories, was the comedy that you get in a lot of the Shakespeare plays, even the comedy that you get in a lot of the tragedies. But the Henry VI Part 2, the first one that I read, was hilarious, and there was this entire page of just someone waffling, and then another character being I don't think I could have said it clearer myself, and it was the least clear thing ever, and that's my kind of humour, and yes, I really appreciated that. But this next book I am currently reading is my non-fiction book. I am listening to it on audiobook, but I do also like having a physical copy of the book, because a lot of the time I like to annotate the book when I hear really insightful pieces of information. But I bought this and heard about this after listening to one of the podcasts from Diary of a CEO by the author, and immediately knew that I had to buy the book because the podcast was fascinating. But I am reading The Myth of Normal, Trauma, Illness and Healing in a Toxic Culture by Gabor Matt, with his son Daniel as well. I do believe that's how you pronounce the last name. I apologise if I am wrong. But yes, I am quite a ways through this one. I'm on page 320, and obviously a lot of it is the references and notes at the end, so it's actually I think 500 pages long. I've got about 5 hours left on audiobook left to listen to this, and like I say, it is a really, really interesting and fascinating book, but I have had to take my time with it. There are some chapters that are terrifying, to be quite honest, when listening to them, and it kind of makes you realise a lot of things, and a lot of things are out of your control, which is horrible in itself. So it's kind of, you're being informed of these things, but also at the same time being there's nothing you can do to change that, which is, like I say, very scary. So sometimes I do have to leave it about a week before I start listening to it again, just so I can kind of move on from the last chapter. I would also, before picking this up, check out the content warnings, because obviously it does delve into trauma and people's trauma, and it does discuss different people's sort of experiences with things throughout their life, and a lot of those things are very difficult to hear about. So like I say, definitely check out the content warnings before picking this one up. So obviously the author of this book is actually a doctor, and the whole essence of this book is sort of taking a look at trauma, and how the trauma can be also brought on by obviously the toxicities of our current culture, the world we live in today, those kind of things, and how later on in life that can actually show up as physical illness. And then there is obviously a section on healing, which I haven't got to yet, but I'm very much looking forward to those chapters, because like I say, the lead up to that has been very eye-opening and quite scary. So I would like to get to the healing chapters to find out maybe what I can do to prevent some of these scary things that the society we live in today is basically making happen to our bodies. It's also incredibly eye-opening, like I say, in showing how capitalism and the world we live in today has been made to make humans have less choice in their own lives, their own bodies, their own like bringing up of children, where you have your children born and how you breed them and all of these things. And it's, like I say, eye-opening and terrifying. So yes, I'm looking forward to the healing chapters. It does kind of in ways remind me of The Good Enough Life by Avram Alpert that I read last year. There's a lot of things that kind of cross over in the two books, in that there's this idea that because of society today, like the toxic culture, and this need to just be working all the time and trying to strive to be great, because that's how we've been bred and brought up, is making us ill. And Gabel very clearly in this book tries to state that if we went back to a much more relaxed, good enough kind of state of mind, we would be a lot healthier. So yes, I've seen a lot of crossover with those two books, which is also very interesting. And the third book I am currently reading is one that I'm very excited about, but that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, because yes, I am massively a backlist booktuber, in that I read books years and years and years and years and years after they've come out, rather than being a new release booktuber. Because this is, yes, in fact, the first time I'm reading this book, even though I read The Mortal Instruments and The Infernal Devices years ago when they first came out. I have since kind of taken a big lull, because Cassandra Clare pumps out books like there's no tomorrow, and I've just found it very difficult to keep up, even though these books read very quickly. So I reread The Mortal Instruments before delving into this series, and even that took me years to do. So recently I finished my reread of City of Heavenly Fire, which I really enjoyed, and it reminded me of why I love Cassandra Clare's books so much, and it got me really excited about finally picking up Lady Midnight, which has been on my bookshelf for, again, years. I don't even want to know how many years, because it's embarrassing. But yes, I have started this one as well. I'm on page 59, but again, I've kind of put that down to read some other things for a little while. So in the month of June, I plan to just plough through this, because it is my aim that by the end of the year I will have finished the Dark Artifices series, because I do own all three of them now, but again, they're very chunky. The other two are some of the biggest ones I think she's written, which kind of scares me, but like I say, it shouldn't, because these read really quickly and I do really enjoy them. I'm not going to give you a synopsis of these, obviously, because there's not really much point, unless you've probably read it already anyway if you're a Cassandra Clare fan, and if you haven't, like I say, this one comes way after 6 other books, even though you probably could read this one first, but you'd miss out on a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, so you know. But I will say that I am really enjoying that this one is set in Los Angeles, whereas the Mortal Instruments is set in the New York Institute kind of area. So it is really exciting to see different characters in a different sort of area, but still kind of doing the same thing. And this one kind of has a setup of a murder mystery as well, which I'm really enjoying. The essences of. But yeah, I can't wait to delve further into this and get to know the characters more and the world more, and like I say, hopefully finish this series by the end of the year. So those are the 3 books I'm mainly reading at the moment. I do also want to let you know some videos you can kind of expect from me soon. So I'm going to do a summer TBR, so books I want to read in summer because the recent weather has got me really excited about that. I'm going to do a recent 5-star reads video, which will probably contain The Myth of Normal, so you can hear a bit more about that. And I also have a silent vlog coming from my time in Stratford-upon-Avon when I did all of the Shakespeare stuff. I've slowly been editing that because there was actually a lot of footage, so that should be with you soon too. Please let me know in the comments down below what you are currently reading, and hopefully I will see you soon in another video. Thank you for watching! Bye!